There's an ancient Babylonian tablet in the British Museum that just may reveal the location of Noah's Ark. The cuneiform writing has a remarkable connection to another Babylonian text known as the Ark Tablet. Not surprisingly, both stories line up perfectly with geological evidence and, most importantly, the biblical account of the Great Flood of Noah. The flood of Noah is documented in the book of Genesis, chapters 6, 7, and 8. Noah was warned by God to build an ark for himself, his family, and the animals, to escape the judgment of the great flood that was coming to purge away the wickedness that was growing across the entire earth. Similar stories of a great flood are found in cultures all around the world. Some of the most incredible connections to the Great Flood of Noah are found in ancient Mesopotamia. The Ark Tablet is the Babylonian account of the Great Flood, where a man named Utnapishtim, rather than Noah, builds the ark at the command of his god. In this account, the god Ea sends the flood, and Utnapishtim's family and the animals survive by landing the ark at one of Aratu's peaks. The Hebrew equivalent for the word Aratu is Ararat. In Genesis 8:4, it tells us that the Ark of Noah landed on the mountains of Ararat. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. An artifact known as the Imago Mundi tablet is the oldest known map of the world, and it has an incredible connection to both of these accounts of the ark. First, let's look at what this Imago Mundi tablet is.
This is the oldest map of the world in the world. It has two sides. This is the front or obverse, and this is the back or the reverse. And the reverse consists of lots of lines of cuneiform in different ruled sections. So it's full of information, even though it's a bit damaged. But the other side is the remarkable thing. Firstly, there's some lines of cuneiform ruled across very firmly at the top. And this is about the early creation of the world and how animals were put in the sea in different parts of the universe. It's a kind of brief summary of creation, which has nothing to do with the map, because it's a clear border between that and this.
The cuneiform writing has some incredible information that links all of this to the ark. But what's really incredible is the map of ancient Mesopotamia on the bottom half of the tablet. And we'll see a little later how this map connects with the Ark Tablet as well as Noah's flood in the book of Genesis. But first, let's have a look at exactly what this map is saying.
And it's this which is so exciting, because if you look carefully, you will see that the flat surface of the clay has a double circle drawn in the surface of the clay. Now, the double ring is very important because it has cuneiform writing in it which says it's the bitter river. And this water was deemed to surround the known world because the area inside the double ring is ancient Mesopotamia itself. Now, this word Mesopotamia is the ancient Greek word for what is modern Iraq. So inside the drawing of this circle, we have very interesting things. There is a great river that runs from north to south, which is the Euphrates River. And the river is straddled by a long oblong, which is obviously the city of Babylon. So this is a very important ring of water, because it meant for the Babylonians they had a sort of idea of the limits of their world, where they lived, in about the 6th century BC, with these important rivers which brought life and food to them, waterways for transport, all the way down to the Persian Gulf. It was kind of depicted in small. And if you look carefully at the picture, you will see that in the surface of the known world there are these rings drawn with little bits of cuneiform inside those, and those tell you the name of the city which it represents, or sometimes the tribe. So you have encapsulated in this circular diagram the whole of the known world in which people lived, flourished, and died. However, there's more to this map than that, because if you look at the outer ring, you will see that going off at different angles are triangles, Sometimes people say they are islands, sometimes people say they are districts, but in point of fact they are almost certainly mountains, because the idea is that if you go across the water, you see these jutted, pointed things above the horizon, which are remote lands far beyond the limits of the known world, which go out in different directions from the perimeter of existence. And they are, for the Babylonians, places full of magic and full of mystery.
Before we get into the amazing connection this tablet has with the location of the Ark, first let's look at some modern evidence of where Noah's Ark could be located. In present-day Turkey, researchers have identified a geological formation known as the Durapınar Formation that closely matches the biblical dimensions of Noah's Ark. This 538-foot-long formation has attracted significant scientific attention. Recent investigations in 2014 and 2019 using ground-penetrating radar revealed intriguing angular structures not typically found in natural geological formations. Scientists from Istanbul Technical University have discovered clay-like substances and marine materials in the soil. Nearly 30 samples of rock and soil from the site have been dated to be between 3,500 and 5,000 years old, aligning with the biblical timeline of Noah's Ark. Large amounts of petrified wood have also been found inside the formation. Whether the Durapınar Formation is the location of Noah's Ark, we may never know, but we can know that the Ark landed somewhere in the Ararat Mountains, and amazingly, the Imago Mundi tablet also echoes this fact.
So number 4 says, to the fourth, to which you must travel 7 leagues, because it's like a kind of fairy tale. Everybody knows it's always the same introduction. So each time you have to travel 7 leagues across the water. Then it gets a bit broken. Then it says, you see something which are as thick as a parsiktu vessel. This parsiktu measurement is something to an Assyriologist which makes their ears prick. And the fact is, it's only once otherwise known from cuneiform tablets. And it's rather an interesting cuneiform tablet too, because it is the description of the Ark, which was built, theoretically, in about 1800 BC by the Babylonian version of Noah. And in this account, the details are given, and the god says, you have to do this, this, and this. And then the Babylonian Noah said, I did this, this, and this. I've done it. And I made these structures as thick as a parsiktu vessel, he says out of his own mouth, in the original story. So this word parsiktu is like a kind of noise. It immediately locks in to this thing on the map. Immediately and incontrovertibly. So what it means, speaking plainly here, if I may speak plainly here, is that if you went up this mountain all the way with your sandwiches and breaking regularly for lungfuls of fresh air, eventually you would see against the night sky or the dark sky of the outer universe, silhouetted the ribs made of wood as thick as a parsiktu vessel of the wreck of the Babylonian Ark, which, like the one in the Bible, came to rest on a mountain. And if you come down the mountain and cross over the water back to the homeland, the first place you come to is called Ararat. It's drawn on the map. Now the interesting thing about that is that in the Bible, Noah, in his ark, landed on a mountain where the name is Ararat, and Ararat is the Hebrew equivalent of the Assyrian Urartu. That's quite a meaty thing, quite an interesting thing to think about, because it shows that the story was the same, and of course that one led to the other, but also that from the Babylonian point of view, this was a matter-of-fact thing, that if you did go on this journey, you would see the remnants of this historic boat which saved all the life of the world for the long-term future, from which we of course profit today, still there in the crags against the dark sky.
The collective stories of great floods from cultures all around the world, even on different continents, is a pretty amazing coincidence that to me validates that the flood of Noah is a true historical fact. We also see other forms of evidence, such as seashells found on the tops of really tall mountains, such as Mount Everest in the Himalayas, or just the fact that looking at the deserts of the world, it looks more like old ocean floors than just recent areas where sand has collected. One of the more recent pieces of evidence in support of the Great Flood is found in the Black Sea. Evidence Noah's biblical flood happened, says Robert Ballard. "We went there to look for the flood," he said. "Not just a slow-moving, advancing rise of sea level, but a really big flood that then stayed. The land that went under stayed under. 400 feet below the surface, they unearthed an ancient shoreline, proof to Ballard that a catastrophic event did happen in the Black Sea. By carbon dating shells found along the seashore, Ballard said he believes they have established a timeline for that catastrophic event, which he estimates happened around 5000 BC. Some experts believe this was around the time when Noah's flood could have occurred. This evidence, according to Robert Ballard, is saying there's proof of a great flood that happened and remained in the Black Sea region of the world. Ballard claims it was most likely due to the ice melts from the remnants of a massive Ice Age glacier. This evidence, according to Robert Ballard, is saying there's proof of a great flood that happened and remained in the Black Sea region of the world. Ballard claims it was most likely due to the ice melts from the remnants of a massive Ice Age glacier. But what it really is at the end of the day is more proof that a great flood did occur, and I believe it was the flood of Noah. There's also a theory that the Grand Canyon was created by the receding waters of the Great Flood. Of course, modern science rejects this theory, even though the soil composition is perfect for a large amount of water to carve a massive canyon there, but worth considering in relation to this theory is the formation of the Burlingame Canyon near Walla Walla, Washington. In March of 1926, the irrigation canals in the Gardenia farming district had to be diverted due to blockage. Engineers diverted the flow of the irrigation canals into a nearby ditch, which at the time was only at its deepest 10 feet deep and 6 feet wide. After 6 days, an incredible amount of erosion took place, moving 5 million cubic feet of silt, sand, and rock, causing the once small ditch to now become 1,500 feet long, 120 feet deep, and about 120 feet wide, showing most certainly that a large amount of water can create a massive canyon in a short period of time. Ancient culture after ancient culture have their own versions of a great flood. The Durapiner Formation is an intriguing structure that fits the descriptions of the ark told to us in the book of Genesis. We can see evidence of a worldwide flood all around the world through different geological observations. All the evidence points to the flood of Noah being a real event, once again validating the Bible as a true historical documentation of our past. With all the evidence always pointing to the Bible being true, don't miss the most important point of the entire book. Jesus Christ is the Son of God who died for our sins and rose from the dead in victory over sin and death. He is the only way to have a relationship with God and to get into heaven. I urge you to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior today if you haven't done so. Jesus is coming back very soon. Don't be caught off guard like the wicked people in the world were when Noah and his family entered the ark and the waters started rising. But of that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be.